We're joined by Henning Wehn. Welcome to the program. Good to see you. Now, isn't it the case that some national myths are actually true? For example, take German football teams this week. Amazing, efficient game winners.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, how that Polish striker scored 4 goals yesterday. Amazing, amazing.
Are they all Polish players then?
Yeah, well, yesterday, the one that scored all 4, yeah, he's Polish. No, it was very good because Germany, we're not doing overly well football at the moment. We haven't won a major tournament now for 17 years. We haven't even been to a final of one for almost 36 months.
But they play like German. They play a kind of German football, don't they? They're a very efficient kind of football that they play.
Well, at the moment, but they haven't won anything for many years. So, I mean, let's see what comes next. But at the moment, you watch it and you think, is that really the teams from the Bundesliga?
Oh, I tell you, it looks pretty good if you're watching.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
If you're watching England. Now,
or Scotland.
Oh, don't even mention that. Does Scotland still play? Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, some of your material is based on myths about Germans and the British. But are these myths true, or do you just dwell on them because you get a good laugh out of them?
Well, I mean, you know what truth is, just repetition of lies, isn't it? If you say it over and over again, then finally people will believe it.
Well, there was a famous German who said that.
Who are you talking about?
I think his name was Goebbels.
Yeah, well...
That went down well.
No, are they true? Are they not true? I mean, there's always a grain of truth in them, I think, isn't it? But then just it becomes over time, becomes exaggerated and gets a life of its own, like Germans not having a sense of humour, for example.
Okay, what was a myth about Britain that you held and turned out not to be true when you came here?
Well, the one thing I didn't really have an idea of what Britain was like. So my whole idea of Britain was essentially based on after-8 TV adverts. So I expected almost everyone to live in castles and go out fox hunting and then birch the servants in the evening. So
and your point is?
That's only the cabinet. It's only the cabinet.
Well, wasn't it said that David Cameron thought Downton Abbey was documentary? Yeah, it was reality. TV. Are national myths useful? I mean, for example, I would suggest that the American national myth of the American dream, of that anybody can get on, particularly if you're an immigrant nation, that's a narrative for immigrants, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that is the best example. I think quite a lot of the British myths are probably unhelpful. I mean, for example, a British myth is that we've not been invaded since 1066. I mean, actually, we were invaded in 1216 and in 1688. In 1216, the French got as far as Lincoln. In 1688, we were conquered by a Dutchman who happened to be the son-in-law of our king, so we think it doesn't count. But I do think that the idea that we've not been invaded since 1066 does inform a lot of our view of the world, and it happens not to be true.
So national myths can be dangerous? Or misleading?
Misleading, yes. I mean, you know, the myth that Conservatives can always run the economy well is one I would point to.
I'm glad you're not being party political.
Yeah, so am I.
I used to think that German trains ran on time, but I discovered last year that they do not. They're not like Swiss trains. They run late.
And he is our choo-choo man.
I am the choo-choo man.
They don't run on time, they don't run... What have you got to say to that?
Well, all that started with reunification, isn't it, in 1990. So that's, until then, spot on.
We like nothing better than telling stories about other nationalities. When the oldest hackneyed joke about the Germans from the Brits is the bath towels by the swimming pool that are there from 6 a.m. in the morning. What do the Germans think when they hear this trotted out again and again?
Well, they don't really hear it. So that's the thing, isn't it? It's a very, very insular rumour or myth in the UK
so
about
it's just the
foreigners.
Brits talking to themselves.
Exactly.
And no one gets it. What's the biggest myth the Germans have about the Brits?
Well, it's a tricky one. There aren't really that many myths or stereotypes about Britain because of the class divide. So because on the one hand you have got that idea everyone lives in castles, Then on the other end, then you go on holidays to Spain, then you see the Brits holidaying abroad. So, and it's them two stereotypes you just can't get into one. So, and that is a result because of the class divide.
You're
Britain
lucky
is
they
very
don't
difficult.
go to Germany for holiday, though. At least they go to Spain.
You should, though.
You don't want the ones who go to Spain going to Germany.
No, you don't want them.
No, I was just checking on that. What's the
Yeah.
biggest myth about Britain?
Probably that we're a modest, self-effacing nation, which we like to suggest, whereas really we're quite immodest, and we're very proud of what we do.
I definitely think the invasion one. I think that does cover
That we've been unsullied since 1066.
Yeah.
Biggest myth, do you think, about Britain?
It's that idea of tolerance.
Oh, really? You think that's a myth?
No, I mean, what is tolerance? That's essentially something you really, really dislike.
I don't think you should be allowed to say that, if I may say so.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I'm very tolerant, and I'm going to end the show. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
That's it, but not for us, because we're off to Annabelle's to confirm our total lack of preparations for next week's potentially disastrous live audience show.